What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to talk about this show. I just watched season 1 a couple of weeks ago, and I've been watching it throughout up until the season 2 premiere. That dropped this morning, and I sat home and I watched every single episode, and I'm ready to review season 2. I'm ready to talk about this show because it has just been on my mind since the first episode of season 1, which, like I said, I'm a little late to the party on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Everyone, from people in the entertainment space to friends to co-workers, they're like, have you seen The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel? And I'm like, I've seen the trailers, I've heard people talk about it, but for some reason I have stayed away. You guys have a show like that where you see everyone hyping it up and you're afraid that it's not going to live up to the hype. I finally watched this show, and since I'm not reviewing season 1, I will tell you guys that season 1 for me absolutely lived up to the hype. It got me invested in the characters. I loved every aspect of it, from the filmmaking to the acting. Everything about it was awesome, but we are not talking about season 1. We're here to talk about season 2 and determine whether it measures up to the first season or not, because it had so much to live up to, and I was unsure what direction season 2 was going to take us, if it was going to give us the familiar or if it was going to do something completely different. We got a bit of both, but I will say season 2, it's a bit more different than I anticipated. If you guys don't know how my reviews work, I like to talk about the good, the bad, and then give you my score. This is an awesome week for trailers and movies. This Saturday, I have a very special movie review coming out. I am going to go ahead and tell you what that is. That is for Bumblebee. I will be seeing that, and I heard the embargo drops while I'm watching the film, which means you guys get a review from me on Saturday evening. But right now, we are focusing on the beauty of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Let's get into this review. So in the season 2 premiere, Midge takes the stage for a foreign audience while Abe and Rose find themselves in a new world. Susie experiences the repercussions of having a bad reputation in the business as Joel is dealing with his own problems. There is so much going on in this first episode. It is getting us back into this world that I actually just left because I just finished season 1, like I said, but a lot of people have been waiting a year, so long, for season 2 to come back. So it had to establish or re-establish some things, get us back into the groove, and I'm happy to say that season 2 picked up literally right where season 1 left off and got us back into the zone, or at least the feel of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. This is a very different show. Of course, it takes place in a different time, but the style and the filmmaking and the way that it goes about telling the story is very different from other shows that we see. And then you have the aspect of she is a comedian and she's constantly telling jokes on stage or off, so we're always laughing. But did we care about the plot like we did in the first season? Because for me, the first season sucked me in and never let me out of its grasp, and I was curious. I was thinking to myself, what direction is season 2 going to go in? Are they going to stay at the same old club? She's going to tell the same old jokes to the same audience, and they're going to repeat some of the same beats. And while they do in episode 1, this season goes in a very different direction. There is a 3 to 4 episode span where they are not even in their home. They're in a completely different country at one point, and then they spend summer camp in this different area. They go to places that I did not expect them to go, and while it does feel like, I know, come on back, stay in the familiar, stay in what we like. I sound like Mark Wahlberg. Hey, how you doing? Say hi to your mother for me. I'm okay with this show taking risks. The entire season 1 of this show is a giant risk because it's so different and because it's so out there. This season went in a completely different direction. While it kept the same themes and the same characters and the same plot points that we knew and loved from the first, it just expanded on those, but it sent them to different places, and some of the relationships that we saw in the first one, those people were strained a bit, and then we got some people hanging out that maybe didn't hang out in the first one. You get those different character dynamics, and you get those different conversations, and at the end of the day, looking back on season 2, it flowed perfectly with season 1, but it was just different enough where I can sit back and say, what they have done with this show so far is genius. It's brilliant. If you can't tell, I am completely on board with season 2. I thought season 2 was awesome. There are so many things to like, whether you're talking about the humor or the just zany and out there characters and the situations that they get themselves in. I will talk about a few here in a minute, but my goodness, they were so funny, they were so out there, and there are these bits that they keep coming back to, just like stand-up. Now that I think about it, the entire show kind of resembles stand-up comedy. It gets itself into situations, it has to get itself out of situations, and it's funny. It's also emotional. original. You can see the emotion coming out of the characters. I just can't believe they were so consistent in the storytelling. It's incredible to me. And I know I haven't said this yet. I'm going to keep this as non-spoilery as possible because I binged this in one day. There's no way all of you guys have watched this show all the way through, so I'm going to refrain from specific plot points. I've only really done a spoiler review for Daredevil, but this is a show I could talk about all day. So if you want me to do more, tell me and I will do more. But I am going to skim across some plot points, so I got a little worried when they were going to summer camp. I said, is it going to be okay if we take these characters out of the place that we know and love and put them in this new situation? And it was absolutely okay because the situations that they get themselves into, especially at the end of episode 4, was fantastic. I believe it was the end of episode 4, maybe episode 5, but there is one point where a major plot point is revealed to a character. I thought that situation is one of the most well-handled scenes I have seen all year. The intensity from something so like, oh, we knew it was going to happen, but when it happened, our jaws were dropped. We were like, what? And even with all of that emotion shoved into that one moment, you still get the funny moments. You still get the comedy and the humor, and that is what this show balances so well. I am always laughing or always wanting more from a certain character from an entertainment standpoint. It's just that good. It's just that intriguing. Rachel Brosnahan as Midge is maybe my favorite performance of the year on television. She gives everything she has. It is flawless in execution, and I feel like when I see her in other things, or when she becomes this inevitable movie star that she will become, I will be able to get sucked into her performance because to me right now she is Midge, but I feel like she could take any performance from any time period and just fade away and become that character because she is so good as Midge, and I loved everything that she did in season 2. Now, Tony Shalhoub, oh my goodness, I have loved this guy for years. Whether you're talking about Spy Kids or something silly on television, this guy can do funny, he can do silly, he can do zany, but this character may be the best I've ever seen. Abe is such a great character. When he's angry, you want to stay out of his way. When he's in a good mood, you are happy for him. When he gets worried because his family does keep secrets from him all the way around, you get concerned for him as a character because he has built this relationship with the audience so well over the first 2 seasons. And he actually may be my favorite character other than Mrs. Maisel. But if we're talking about favorite characters, tied at number 2 is Alex Borstein as Susie. Now, a lot of you guys know her as Lois. Peter. I haven't done that in a while, and it's always funny when you're watching this show and you hear Lois Griffin come out and you're like, oh yeah, she is the Family Guy lady, but she is so much more than the girl on Family Guy. She is not just a great voice actor, which I consider them actors regardless. She is a great actor/actress. She is so good in this role. She owns this character. Everything that she is on screen is something that I see as a realistic character, somebody who exists in real life, who is always frustrated at the world, who doesn't want to embrace friendship, but even in this season, we see her struggling with that, yet she does want to embrace friendship at times. You can see it deep down. There are so many layers. She avoids all of the cliches, and that accent is perfection. It's spot on. She is such a great character. This show is full of great characters, whether you're talking about Joel or Jackie or Rose. Everyone is good. Everyone is well cast. And you get those cameos in season 2 like you got in season 1. And then you have a guy coming along, and I don't know if I want to spoil who it is, who plays a major role in Midge's life, but he comes in, you're like, oh, I know this guy from something, and I know this guy who is going to be in a major superhero movie next year. He comes in and knocks it out of the park as well. His role is great. He's a great character. I believe he comes in episode 4, but when he does, he definitely makes an impact, especially if you know what he's been in so far. So you got a great story, you have great acting, great characters. What else is there? Well, the technical aspects, the cinematography is always on point. I feel like I've talked about this to you guys, but no, it's just telling my friends how well shot of a show Mrs. Maisel is. You guys have to check it out if you are fans of filmmaking because of the one takes and the shots following the characters. It brings you into this story even more than the actual script does, and that is another reason why this show is just so incredible. And I know I've talked about the writing, but the themes, everything behind it is just so timely, and that is the case in season 1, but I think season 2 takes it to a whole new level. It talks about how people are treated in society, and it talks about how maybe women should have a greater role, and I know it's the time period, it's a product of the time, but it hits on all of these things that I think are important, but it doesn't do something that I think a lot of people might get annoyed with. It doesn't beat you over the head. It doesn't go all, as people in my YouTube comments want to say, social justice warrior on you. It keeps it refrained, it keeps it a bit fresh, and everything that is flying at you left and right, whether it's a joke or something emotional or a deeper theme, it's always something that cares about its audience. And that's the best thing I can say about this show, is it really cares about its viewers. It knows exactly who is watching and why they're watching, and it presents that. It never goes off on these little side plots. It's like, oh, I don't really care about that story. And in season 2, we get those different side plots. We get Susie and her family. We finally get to explore that a little bit. We have the confrontation and the drama between Midge and her mom and her dad, especially when you start out in season 2. Her mom's just off, gone, doing her own thing. There's so much conflict there. And then we see her dad evolve as a character. In the first season, while I loved him, I saw him as more of a stickler. In this season, I see him more as, wow, he has emotion in this scene. He's smiling here. He's happy. He doesn't want to go back to his day job. And then my favorite aspect of all of these things is the drama between that family. The drama between Abe, Midge, and her brother. There are a lot of secrets going on in this family, and people slowly start to figure out minor details, and those details create conflict between this family, and every person has this side of them that is a secret. They're all keeping it from each other, and it just creates a very engaging and intriguing conflict, and that carries out. And I've not even talked about, there's so much to talk about, I've not even talked about her comedy sets and how she's improving as a comedian, and she's going on stage in front of a huge audience and in front of some people that are watching her now for the first time in her life, and she is killing it, she's destroying it, she's getting better and better and better. And then in the latter episodes, in the last few episodes, she begins to get these opportunities that you have been wanting her to get since the first episode of the first season, and then you have that conflict with Joel. And I know I'm skipping from plot point to plot point, but his conflict is interesting in itself. And what happens between he and his job and his parents, and how he begins to do different things in life, but maybe he's not happy with them. He starts to make big purchases, but maybe he wants to go back to certain things. All of those conflicts, everything I just stated is just the brilliance of this show, because it can somehow juggle them and somehow make it feel so smooth from episode 1 to episode 10. And oh, did I mention we get 2 more episodes in this season? Yes. I know I've been sitting here praising the show, but we're in the bad now. I have to talk about the negatives, so let's talk about them. Ready? I don't have very many negatives. There's just not a lot to dislike about this show, and season 2 provided that for me once again. It did everything that season 1 did. I don't know if I like it as much as season 1, because season 1 you get to grab onto these characters and really sink your teeth in. Season 2, you already know them, so you start going in different directions and building more relationships. There is a lot going on. That's not necessarily a negative. It's just something there, and I'm warning you, it will jump from plot point to plot point. And at times I was sitting there like, okay, we could speed this up a little bit. I love the pacing, but the pacing could have been maybe a little bit more fast-paced. Maybe some of the episodes could have been trimmed a bit. And I don't know if I necessarily needed 10 episodes. It could have been 8 again, because there are some plot points that could have been left out, but I would be lying to you if I would tell you that I did not want to see those plot points, because I'm glad we got them. Clearly, I don't have a lot of bad things to say about this show, because there's just not a lot of bad to say. I went into season 1 with a lot of hype. I was afraid I was going to be disappointed, and I wasn't. Same with season 2. Could it live up to season 1? And it absolutely did. Be sure to leave your comments down below, guys. Let's talk about this. This is your space to tell me if you felt the same way, or if you didn't think it lived up to the hype as much as season 1. And if you like this video and you want more Amazon Prime reviews, I may start doing more of these in the future, but all of those things being said, I am going to give The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel Season 2 a 96%. This thing blew me away. It knocked my socks off. How in the world did I fall in love with all of these characters that a few weeks ago I did not anticipate even watching this show, but I am so glad that I did. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Avengers 4 trailer on Friday, Spider-Man Far From Home trailer on Saturday, and like I said, a review for Bumblebee. And I'm thinking Suspiria is coming to a theater close to me on Saturday. I may go see that and review it as well. I've been wanting to see it for a long time, and Kentucky, baby, nothing ever comes near me. You guys are the absolute best, and I'll catch you later.